Hi, I'm Wayne and welcome to Bandsaw Woodworking. Today's project is a really cool one. We're performing some upgrades to the 14-inch Harbor Freight bandsaw. Specifically, the upgrades that we will be making are replacing the tires on the top and bottom wheel, and I'm installing a 6-inch riser to the bandsaw. Now, Harbor Freight hasn't sold a riser kit for this saw in quite a few years, so I purchased this one on Grizzly, and I will likely have to modify it to make it work. First, I need to remove the blade from the bandsaw. It is all unplugged, so it's not going to turn on. The riser kit that I bought comes with a new blade guard for the left side of the blade, and also comes with a whole new assembly minus the actual guides and stuff for the right hand side. So I'm not sure which of those pieces fit and which of them don't, but we will find out as we go. I don't see why this wouldn't fit this. I might need to cut some slots or something to make everything fit right, but we'll do what we can with it. I'm going to take the guard off now. I figured it would just be easier to not have that weight sitting on it when I'm trying to figure out the rest of this one. Shear that right off. So the pins are not going to line up. So the Harbor Freight has the pegs in these locations, which are exact opposite of what the Grizzly needs. So it looks like all we're going to need to do though is take these out, get like a couple of pegs set in here, mark where we need to drill some holes, drill the holes in the base here, and then we can set this down, and then we just do the same transfer process to the other piece, and it should be doable. The next thing we need to figure out is whether the bolt that they sent us is the right size for this. It would suck to go through all of this and then find out that the bolt that we have to install in here won't fit in here, like it's too long or it's too short because dimensions are different. We want to reproduce the fit of those pins as close as possible, so I have a drill gauge here that I'm going to use to match the size of the holes. Looks like it's 15/64. 1/4 would be way too loose. 15/64 seems to be the size we need to drill. Completely doable. The next thing I'm going to do is try to get this bolt that's sheared off out of the blade guide so that I can replace it with the other piece of bar stock. I think I will just drill this out as carefully as I can I might even just try to cut a slot in it to see if I can just take a flathead screwdriver and take it out. But we're gonna try a couple of things. Okay, so update. I got the blade guide off of the old bar. Then I decided to measure the new bar and the old bar next to each other. The Grizzly one is 7/8. The Harbor Freight is 3/4. So now I have the decision of whether I want to take a Deming bit and widen the hole on the blade guide and on the saw itself to accommodate the 7/8, or if I want to somehow find a really long 3/4 inch bar. I'm kind of undecided at this point, but I gotta think about it. So after thinking about it for like 3 seconds, I decided it'd be a really stupid idea to use a Deming bit to bore out the holes on the top wheel of my saw and on the blade guide itself. So I'm just going to pick up a piece of 3/4 inch metal rod from Home Depot tomorrow. So I won't have that part finished yet, but I'll get everything else in place, and then I will run to Home Depot, get that rod, come back, install it. I followed the same process for the top half as I did for the bottom, so I placed the riser on the part and gave it a good whack with a hammer. That created 2 divots that I could then drill out with a 1/4 inch bit to make the riser seat properly. The top holes I drilled out quite a bit larger than they needed to be. That way I could make sure the top and bottom wheel were coplanar when I installed. The riser kit is now installed. Now would be a good time for me to do the new tires on the wheels. So I'm going to take the old ones off and then install the new ones. And I gotta figure out why this is doing this, but that I think is just because I was tugging on it. So I have these urethane tires. The ones that come on the Harbor Freight saw are, they have weird lumps in them and stuff like that. It's very hard to get it so that the crown stays in the center and there's no lumps, so that you can get the blade tracking properly. So the manufacturer recommends soaking these in hot water for a few minutes prior to trying to install them. So I have a bowl and I have a kettle. I'm gonna heat up some water and soak those in some hot water, stretch them over. Gonna need a lot of clamps. Okay, there's one. It's one of those things where it goes on so tight that you're sure it's gonna clamp your fingers at the end, and you have to just kind of like tip it on there real quick, kind of like a bike tire. As those cool, they're supposed to shrink and become tighter, which they're already pretty tight, so I think this is going to give me a lot better. Okay, now we can put a blade on. So I'm just going to use the blade that Grizzly sent with their kit, which is a 6 TPI blade. The 2 most frustrating things about this bandsaw by far are the tracking mechanism and the tension mechanism. The tracking mechanism is just very poorly designed, and the moment you start to get it tracking true, the knob then wants to spin freely on the end because it's just plastic epoxied to a threaded rod. And then the tension mechanism just digs the 3/8 threaded rod into the cast iron here, and cast iron's soft, so if you have enough tension on a blade, you'll just end up driving the 3/8 threaded rod into the casting itself. Or worse, and it will, since it's a rounded area that you're going into, you'll deflect the rod bending it. So to kind of mitigate that issue, I've just put a piece of 1 inch by 1/8 bar stock across the gap so that my tensioning mechanism is pressing against a flat surface. The bar stock is only 1/8 of an inch thick, so it does have some give so that it doesn't strip out the 3/8 threaded rod. So I'm able to get this nice and tensioned without destroying this whole threaded rod here. And also putting a nut on the end of the bolt on the rod itself also helps. It gives it a little bit more surface area so that doesn't, it's not as apt to skate around. Now that the blade is on and tracking well, I can put the covers back on, and then we can spin up the blade. I can't put the guard or anything on it, so I shouldn't cut anything, but I can do everything else, and then this will cut to me installing the blade guard, because I will have gone to Home Depot, got the blade guard, come back. It's been a couple of days. I was able to source some 3/4 inch metal rod online, so I had that delivered. And I also, while I was at it, found a new upper blade guide. This one has roller bearings, so it should be a little bit better than what came stock on the Harbor Freight. Adjusting the blade guide on the Harbor Freight is really difficult and very finicky, so hopefully this one will provide more adjustment easier. Figures that on the Harbor Freight, the only thing that was easier to adjust than this new guide is the blade guard. That used Phillips head screws. This one uses a number 10 bolt. Upgrades are finished on the Harbor Freight bandsaw for the time being. To recap, we replaced the wheels on the top and bottom with some new urethane wheels. We installed a 6-inch riser kit from Grizzly, and we replaced the upper blade guide with a new one that uses ball bearings instead of carbon blocks. So all in all, I'm really happy with all the upgrades, and we'll just see how it does over the next few weeks. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date with new projects as they are released. And until next time, thank you.